I've never seen a more versatile or innovative 75% keyboard than this. I mean, it's fully built, less than $80, and has way more tricks up his sleeve than meets the eye. So today I'm reviewing another budget banger keyboard. And the more inexpensive I go, the more I seem to be impressed. This little guy is the GK75 by Skyloong, and it's actually a newer addition to their lineup in the TiGrey keycap colorway. So this is a 75% mechanical keyboard with hot-swappable switches and hot-swappable knobs. Wait a minute, what? You heard me right. Aside from the knobs, which are extremely cool, Skyloong has gone a totally different route when it comes to the gasket mounting system on this board. And that's all because it utilizes this patented gasket structure that provides flexibility and prevents hard contact between the screws and the plate, which cause strange noises sometimes. And not just that, they even include a completely new hot-swappable split spacebar design. I'll talk more about all these in detail in just a bit. Let's talk about this design. The case material is a black transparent ABS plastic. That being said, the outer of the case is super durable. You could probably drop this board from a decent height and it'd survive, although I strongly wouldn't recommend that. The style of this board is definitely leaning towards the enthusiast side rather than the traditional gaming keyboard side. The high profile design is smooth and pretty minimal with no visible logos, but the knob and the golden steel plate kind of give it a hint of luxury even though it's super affordable. And speaking of that plate, the plate included is a steel plate, but if you prefer a different material, Skyloong offers PC, FR4, and a white version of the steel plate as well. Talking more about that gasket structure that I mentioned earlier, they call it a soft silicone light gasket. And the majority of the system is actually built around where the screws screw into the plate from the PCB. The keycaps on the GK75 that I've received is the TiGrey colorway. They're made of a double shot PBT and it's in an OEM profile. I imagine it's called TiGrey because it's like a yellowish orange, so it kind of reminds me of a tiger. That's my guess. When it comes to the switches, we got the Glacier silver linears in here, man, and these are probably the most sought after switch that I could visibly see because it seems to be selling out pretty often. These switches are pre-lubed, and I enjoy them a lot, even though they are kind of on the heavier side, with the 48 to 52 GF operating force. To be real, I was pleasantly surprised at the quality and performance of these switches stock. These bad boys are not your everyday budget switch, at least in my opinion. And with the GK75, you got some options to pick from, man. Speaking of pre-lubed, let's talk about these stabilizers. These pre-lube stabs are probably the best I've ever seen on a board before. Man, if you're new to mechanical keyboards, you sure are lucky to join at a time like this. People had to go through the struggle, man. Also, there is another version of this board called the GK75, but with optical switches, which is geared heavily toward those who game with their keyboard instead of people who get their keyboards to just brag with. It's me, I think I'm people. I actually prefer this version personally because it's much more customizable considering that version isn't compatible with your typical cherry or kale style switches. Since they got some more new technology built into the switches over there, maybe I'll feature that in another video, but let's get back to the GK75 we got here. Anyways, let's see what's in the box. We got a Type-C USB cable, a USB adapter, some supplemented keycaps. Of course, we got the screws and hardware we would need to, screw things in. We got some spares as well. We got the keycaps and switch puller right here. So you get 2 extra switches, warranty card and instructional manual, and of course, the Skyloong keyboard, pre-built with the dustproof cover and 2.4G dongle. And without further ado, this is one of the knob modules. Mine were actually pre-installed. Not only that, is that this board actually supports up to 6 hot-swappable knobs. Yeah, I said it, hot-swappable. It's such a crazy technology if you think about it. And all of these knobs can be programmed with 3 functions each using the GK75's driver software. So I use one of my knobs for volume control, which is the default, and another knob for the timeline scrolling when I edit my video. You can do that by setting it to page up and page down. You can thank me later. With so many different knobs at your disposal, you can figure out a ton of different ways to use them. I decided to use mine to increase my productivity and help me with my video editing. For all the content creators out there nowadays, I'm pretty sure this is a pretty good way to use it too. I was actually provided an extra knob to play around with. It sounded a little bit, never mind. The real takeaway there was that when you order, you only get 1 knob, but Skyloong actually sells them on the side, with an option to get an ABS module costing about $6 each, and you can even get a CNC aluminum version costing $10 each at the time of recording this video. I really want to tell you how special these knob modules are because frankly, I've never seen tech quite like this in the mechanical keyboard space. Not even in the expensive ones. They're literally hot swappable like a switch. We were not joking when we said this. Not only that, this keyboard kit comes with a split spacebar and a standard 6.25 spacebar module that allows you to split your keyboard into 3U, 2U, and one 1.25 key, bro. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, why would you want to do that? Well, the biggest benefit for me in my eyes is that you can change all of these keys to do different functions individually. When you're typing, it's pretty common that you want to use the shift or the alt key to press a certain function. And a lot of times you're kind of like reaching way over here. So there's a lot of ways that you can make your day a lot easier when you just set these to something that's a little bit closer to you. Some people may find benefits in changing one of these to another backspace or delete key, or even another shift. Not only that, it also changes the tone of your spacebar sound just a little bit, since it's not just one long bar. Keyboards with split spacebars are extremely hard to find, especially in retail, and they're even harder to find in a budget keyboard. Now I kind of want to talk about the pros and the cons that I noticed about this board. Of course, we're going to start with the good stuff, right? So my impression with this board right out of the box, with the customization options included, like the Hot-Swappable knob technology and the spacebar modules, really gave this board something extremely innovative, helping it stand out amongst the hundreds of different keyboards that are simply just good for typing. And if that, the GK75 gives buyers a lot to consider when entering the marketplace for a new keyboard and having an $80 budget. With experiencing more budget ABS and polycarbonate body keyboards of the late, I'm really starting to think that we should hold some of these mid to high tier boards more accountable for their price to performance ratios. This $80 keyboard is lubed better than boards that cost twice as much, and that's saying a lot. Now they did send me this board, so there is that chance that maybe they lubed it better for me or something like that, but nonetheless, that doesn't take anything away from how crazy this board really is, in a good way. This is a custom board that comes with foam, but I really find nothing about it that I really want to customize that much further. Even the keycaps look good, bro. Now let's talk about that connectivity. The USB mode in the bottom of the case allows for a lot of preference and provides 3 different port locations. You got left, right, or center. That means you got options, baby. Building more on that, you can of course pick from the 3 modes, one being USB, Bluetooth, and 2.4G wireless, 2 of which utilize the 4000 milliamp battery that's inside. Now, here are a couple things that people might view as potential cons. So there's nothing stating that there is any kind of compatibility with VIA or QMK, but there is a driver program that seems to offer most of the same capabilities, like macros, altering key bindings, RGB, and more. So majority of users are likely going to use it to change the functions of your knobs. But it actually does come with quite a lot of helpful macros geared towards competitive computer gaming. I haven't tried them much yet, but I can tell they'd be useful. So the driver does take a little bit to get used to at first, but once you do, it'll be like your best friend. Another thing is that it's slightly difficult to open up. It's another one of those boards that takes some manpower to get into, but just like with many things, if there's a will, there's a way. Something else is that the connection switch that swaps from Bluetooth, USB, and 2.4G isn't very tactile, at least on my unit. So setting it to USB mode is pretty hard to predict. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's not necessarily impossible. Now the moment we've been waiting for, let's go ahead and listen to this sound test. Let me know in the comments about how you think the GK75 sounds. Also make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the video. Okay, let's talk about some of these RGB features, man. This board's RGB also has something that I've never seen before in a budget board. So there are about 9 backlight modes on the RGB, and there are actually 3 audio activated modes that respond to your voice or music. There's honestly way more going on with this affordable little board than I ever expected. Alrighty now, so who is this board for? I'd be pretty comfortable saying that this board would make a solid first mechanical keyboard for anybody out there. I also can see this replacing quite a few boards on the market today, depending on your uses. It's pre-built, has plenty of customization options, and is very durable for a plastic keyboard. The keycaps included are an awesome color, and they don't shine. The switches and even the stabilizers were tuned so well, I didn't even bother to touch them. If your budget is under $80, I can't currently think of any other 75% board with as many offerings as the GK75. The knobs and split spacebar are just providing something that nobody else is really doing right now, and I like it a lot. And that's my review for the GK75. If you liked what you see, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing. If you're interested in getting the GK75 by Skyloong, make sure you hit that link down in the description below. It shouldn't be too hard to find. I wanted to say thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.